One of the halachas regarding a Korban Pesach, according to most Rishonim, is that you have to have it 4 days in advance in order to inspect it from any blemish, to be able to be makriv the Korban, to be a tomim, whole, complete, without any blemish. So the question is, what happens if Mashiach comes after Yud Nisan and you don't have 4 days to inspect it for a blemish? Can you still bring the Korban Pesach, or will we not be able to bring the Korban? You don't have the 4 days, so you have to wait and bring a Pesach Sheni. That's the Shaila. So basically, in other words, the question really is whether this halacha that you're supposed to inspect the Korban for 4 days, is it ma'akiv or is it not ma'akiv? Is it li'ikuva or not? Is it just l'chatchila? Or if you don't have the 4 days, you just take the animal, you inspect it right then and there, and if it looks to be healthy, you could rely on a chazakah that it's an animal without any mum. You have a chiddush that the Rebbe said when you get to this Inyan, and when the Rebbe had there was a 30 years ago actually, I think it was between Pesach and Shavuos, when the Rabbanim Harashim of Eretz Yisrael, Rav Avraham Shapira and Rav Mordechai Eliyahu came to visit the Rebbe. So the Rebbe was discussing when you get to being makriv Korban Pesach, and when you get to this din of Bikr Dalad Yomim, if they inspect it for 4 days. And the Rebbe then said that the shaila is something else. Even if you're going to say that the Bikr of 4 days, there's a halacha that you have to inspect it for 4 days, but maybe, and it's ma'akiv, but sof, what's the whole point here? To make sure it has no mum. So therefore the Rebbe suggested maybe you could rely on Eliyahu Navi to come and tell you that this behemoth doesn't have a mum, even if you don't have 4 days. Just like the Gemara says when you get to so many different things, Teiku, Tishbi, Taretz, Kushis, V'abayis. So maybe you could rely on Eliyahu Navi to come and tell you whether it has a mum or not, even if you don't have 4 days. So even if it is ma'akiv, you could rely on Eliyahu Navi. So the Rebbe said then, what is it totally in? L'chayre, there's a famous shaila. How could the Gemara B'chalal say you rely on Eliyahu Navi? Stachta klal teira le b'shamayimi. And you can't rely on any nevuah to paskin any halacha. So how are you relying on Eliyahu Navi B'chalal for any halacha, for any din? Even after Mashiach, and even if it's, but you're relying on Eliyahu Navi for his nevuah. He's telling it to you b'derech nevuah that the behemoth does not have a mum. So the Rebbe said it's talui in what this din of Bikr Dalad Yomim is. If you're going to say that sof, this whole din of Bikr Dalad Yomim is to verify a fact, it's to verify a metzius, so then you're not being mechadash halacha. The concept of Torah Lei B'Shamayim is, if you have a suffix in halacha, l'mashal, you have a suffix, you have a machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. Who should we paskin like? Should we paskin like Rabbi Yehuda or Rabbi Shimon? You don't have a suffix about facts. You have a suffix what the din Torah is, alpi Torah is. A suffix in din, that you can't rely on Eliyahu and any nevuah to tell you what the din alpi Torah is, because that you have to have kloli atayra alpi seichel alpi kloli atayra to verify what the din is. But if you know what the din is, your suffix is what the metzius is. For that you can rely on Eliyahu Navi, just like benegayah to all the din of it. The Gemara says teiku tishbi taretz kushis v'abayis. But akapanim over here the shaila is benegayah to the bikr for a mum. So l'chayda it's only an inyan to verify a metzius. But the Rebbe said lav dafka. The Rebbe left it as a tzarechim. You look in the Sikha there, you'll see that the Rebbe it says there, it writes that a dayin tzarechim, because it could be that this concept of bikur of a mum is a limit from a pasuk, that it has to dafka be a bikur for 4 days, and there is a certain inyam mitzad the chshivus of the Korban. I don't know if you want to use the words kovet for the Korban, or a certain chshivus of the Korban, not just to take and grab an animal and slaughter it and sacrifice it right away, but to prepare it and to inspect it 4 days. It's a certain din b'fnei atzmai chshivus for the Korban to inspect it for 4 days. So if them nicht helfen Eliyahu Navi, even once Eliyahu Navi verifies that there's no mum, but you have to have the bikur 4 days according to the opinions that you had that it's ma'akiv. So then Eliyahu Navi won't help. So that's another completely different angle that the Rebbe says when you get to this whole Indian area.